In this video we will compare two British family sitcoms, the surreal 2.4 Children and the slick American-influenced My Family. Both BBC hits, they differ in tone and style. One embraces suburban absurdity, the other a quick-paced format. Their distinct approaches divide fans and highlight unique trends in British comedy. These two shows represent opposite ends of the sitcom spectrum. While 2.4 Children was written almost single-handedly by Andrew Marshall, pushing the boundaries of reality, My Family imported the high-efficiency American writer's room model that forever changed and divided British television. Unlike most family sitcoms that stick to domestic squabbles, 2.4 Children was famous for including weird plot elements. It took a naturalistic family and dropped them into increasingly surreal situations. Episodes featured everything from Bill and Rona stumbling across a warehouse filled with Shirley Bassey's costume collection to Ben attending a Star Trek-themed funeral of rival plumber Jake Klinger. Then Jake appears alive and well at the will reading. Several Christmas specials ended with the cast breaking character for a full song and dance routine, blurring the line between sitcom and variety show. And the show wasn't afraid of high stakes, once ending a season on a cliffhanger where David was near death from a tetanus infection. My Family marked a significant shift in UK comedy as it was the first major BBC sitcom to adopt the America's writer's room model. Created by Fred Barron, the show moved away from the traditional single writer and instead relied on a team, ultimately involving 25 different writers throughout its run. Many UK critics disliked this collaborative style, claiming that the committee writing resulted in soulless punchlines and inconsistent character development. The writing became so contentious that lead actors Robert Lindsay and Zoe Wanamaker famously called some scripts dross, even refusing to film certain scenes they felt were beneath the characters. Despite the critical scorn, the model did seem to work. The show produced 121 episodes, a rare feat in the UK, making a staple of comfort TV for millions. 2.4 Children was an immediate hit upon its debut in 1991. It quickly established itself as a consistent performer in BBC One's primetime schedule. The show was praised as a warm yet often farcical portrayal of suburban family life, blending domestic squabbles with increasingly surreal and exaggerated situations, without resorting to overt crudeness. The often beleaguered parents are Bill Porter, a witty and sarcastic caterer, and Ben Porter, a somewhat incompetent but lovable plumber. Their 2.4 children were teenage daughter Jenny, who was prone to dramatic outbursts, and mischievous son David, who often got into scrapes. Then there was Bill's best friend Rona, with her procession of boyfriends, and Christine, Ben's sharp-tongued work colleague. Writer Andrew Marshall, celebrated for his sharp humour and clever use of language, often drew from his personal experiences and family life. Many viewers and critics noted similarities to One Foot in the Grave, which makes sense since Marshall once collaborated with the show's creator David Rennick. Marshall brought a sense of farce to everyday family situations, using misunderstandings, escalating confusion and irony as key elements. His work clearly reflects classic British domestic comedy, but adds a modern twist and isn't afraid to venture into more outrageous storylines. In the season 3 episode, Sticky Fingers, Bill, Rona and Jenny are applying adhesive to the floor in preparation for sticking down floor tiles. They explicitly mention avoiding the painting yourself into a corner mistake, which makes the characters look competent and self-aware. The twist is that by avoiding one logical trap, they fall into a more literal physical one, by finding the door is locked in a Chekhov's keys situation. The very thing they need to escape is now unreachable because they were too focused on the floor laying strategy. They also failed to open a window and were becoming overcome by the fumes from the glue. Each one tries to reach the keys on the other side of the room and they all get stuck to the floor. This scene could be a clever subversion of a trope or a reinforcement of the incompetent women stereotypes common in TV sitcoms. as DIY in 90s sitcoms was often portrayed as a man's domain. When women or unmanly men attempted it, the comedy often derived from their inevitable failure. The detail of them being overcome by fumes adds a layer of vulnerability that can feel patronising. It transitions the scene from silly mistake to total helplessness. We're back to the women can't do DIY trope. By making them fail at both the floor and not opening the window, the show moves past bad luck and into incompetence, which is where that women are stupid subtext starts to feel much louder. Usually in these setups, the logical or handy character, often the husband, although Ben had his own brand of incompetence, is absent, setting the stage for the others to mess up in his wake. Ben Porter was frequently portrayed as a disaster in his own right. Andrew Marshall often wrote scenes where logic simply failed everyone, regardless of gender. The trapped scenario was a recurring theme in the show. Bill was trapped in a wardrobe and even got her head stuck in a cat flap. To be fair, the show was often praised for its surrealism rather than just standard slapstick. One particular and important surreal element in seasons 1 and 2 was the initially anonymous, handsome biker that Bill meets. She wonders if her life would be better with him. The biker functions very much like a guardian angel for Bill, appearing at moments of crisis, offering advice, practical help or a sense of solace and escape from Bill's chaotic life. He's often introduced in a slightly ethereal way, appearing out of nowhere, or Bill running into him serendipitously. He represents a kind of alternative, romantic and adventurous path for Bill, contrasting with the mundane and often frustrating reality of a domestic life. Some viewers loved the show's willingness to incorporate bizarre and often dark plot lines into an otherwise seemingly normal family setting. Examples include accidental pet deaths, encounters with a supposed vampire, or even a spoof of The Prisoner. This subversion of the typical family sitcom was seen by some as fresh and inventive. Others found these surreal elements to be forced or too far-fetched, making the show unbelievable or simply unfunny. Some critics felt the show laboured under the belief that by grafting a few stock comedy moments onto his parade of the ordinary, he can pass the thing off as a fully integrated sitcom, calling it unrelentingly average. Many viewers appreciated the naturalistic and well-rounded portrayal of the Porter family. Bill was seen as a refreshing departure from previous sitcom mothers, a hard-working woman not solely defined by her family. Ben was praised for his warmth and charm, subverting the stereotypical grumpy sitcom dad for being the point four of a child due to his immaturity. Conversely, some found Belinda Lang's character Bill to be moany, whingy and whiny all the time, making the show difficult to sit through. While less common, some might have found Ben's childishness tiresome or the children's typical teenage traits to be a bit too cliché. While the show ran for a respectable length of time, from 1991 to 1999, and attracted large audiences, some viewers felt it went a series too far. The introduction of a foster kid, Declan, in the later seasons was often cited as the point the show jumped the shark, with some finding the character awful. Despite some criticisms of later series, many still fondly remember the show, particularly the earlier episodes and the Christmas specials. As 2.4 Children neared the end of its run, it followed the pattern of many long-running sitcoms by seeing a gradual decline in audience numbers. However, the drop wasn't dramatic. Instead, it reflected how the show's format became less novel over time. A significant and tragic event that profoundly affected the show was the death of star Gary Olsen on the 12th of September 2000 at the age of 42 from cancer. While the show had already completed its planned run, his passing definitively closed the door on any potential for future specials or further series. My Family was a hugely popular BBC sitcom that began airing 9 months after 2.4 Children ended and ran for 11 series from 2000 to 2011, making it one of the longest running British sitcoms. It was created by American writer and producer Fred Barron. His background in successful US sitcoms, including Seinfeld and Caroline in the City, heavily influenced My Family's style and structure. The show focused on the dysfunctional lives of the Harper family: cynical dentist Ben, his often exasperated and controlling wife Susan, and their three increasingly eccentric children, Nick, Janie and Michael. Like many classic domestic sitcoms, the core of My Family is the family unit. Shows like Bless This House and Terry and June established the family home as the primary setting for comedic conflict and resolution. My Family specifically aimed to be a mainstream family comedy, contrasting with the rise of more cult or alternative comedies in the UK at the time. While earlier American sitcoms sometimes presented idealised families like Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best, a more realistic and often dysfunctional family dynamic became popular with shows like All in the Family and Married with Children. My Family features archetypal characters in this tradition: the grumpy dad, the manipulative mother, the lazy eldest child, the fashion-obsessed daughter, and the intelligent but socially awkward youngest. The Harpers are not perfect, and their imperfections are the source of much laughter, along with rapid-fire jokes, witty banter, and classic sitcom misunderstandings and escalating farcical situations. The comedy comes from the dialogue and character reactions rather than deep plot development. The show definitely sparked a wide range of opinions among viewers and critics. Many argued that it was a prime example of a lazy rehash of the stereotypical domestic sitcom. Critics often felt it didn't bring anything new to the genre, relying on established character archetypes rather than developing fresh, nuanced individuals. For a large segment of the audience, these various stereotypes made the show relatable. Viewers could identify with the common family dynamics, the exasperation of the parents and the typical sibling rivalries. The comfort of a predictable, non-challenging format was a major draw, especially for family viewing. It was seen as safe and free from the edgy shock factor of some other comedies. Critics and many viewers found the humour to be overly reliant on groan-worthy puns, predictable setups, and a rapid-fire American-style delivery that some found artificial or forced. The jokes were often described as weak and signposted, lacking the subtlety or cleverness of earlier British sitcoms. Supporters found the humour to be easygoing, light-hearted and genuinely funny. The rapid-fire banter and Ben's misanthropic quips appealed to many who simply wanted an amusing half hour of television. Many fans felt the show lost a bit of that magic after Chris Marshall left. The introduction of new characters like Abby and Alfie also divided opinion, with some finding them less engaging or even awful. This led to the feeling that the show outstayed its welcome for far too long, and became quite dreadful in its later seasons. Despite criticism of later seasons, the show did attempt to evolve its characters. Janie went from a rebellious teenager to a mother. Michael matured through school. For those who stuck with it, seeing these characters grow and change added a layer of investment. Even those who disliked the show often acknowledged the talents of Robert Lindsay and Zoe Wanamaker. Many believed their strong performances were often the only thing that made the show watchable, demonstrating their ability to carry virtually any script. Conversely, some felt that such talented actors were wasted on a show that they considered to be of low quality, lamenting that they weren't in more challenging or critically acclaimed productions. My Family regularly achieved 6 to 8 million viewers in its prime, which is unusual for a British sitcom. This was partly due to its consistent Friday night slot on BBC One and its reliable mainstream appeal. However, from around season 8 onwards, there was a gradual decline from its peak. The show did, however, manage to avoid a sudden jump the shark moment, instead experiencing a more gradual fade as it ran its course. Ahead of the start of the 11th season, BBC One controller Danny Cohen announced that it would be the last, saying, "Now that all the Harper children have fled the nest, we feel it's time to make room for new comedies." Whether you see these shows as comforting glimpses of British life or as outdated relics, their impact on television is undeniable. 2.4 Children offered a surreal, almost dark alternative view of everyday family life, while My Family embraced fast-paced, witty banter reminiscent of American sitcoms. Some fans still consider them modern high points of the last golden age of classic sitcoms, while others are glad to leave the canned laughter behind. But what do you think? Were you Team Porter or Team Harper, or did you just find the whole genre unrelatingly average? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the archives of British comedy.